Next, we're going to be retouching what is possibly the most important part of any photograph of a person, and that is the eye. I'm going to open the eye image, and then here's the eye after image. I'm going to show you that as well. And so the eye.jpg image is what you are going to be retouching. And then here is the after. After retouching the image, this is what yours needs to look like. Going to close that out. Yours will have a group name, however, of enhancements here. Alright, so let me close this. So let's begin. Again, the first thing you're going to do is duplicate your background layer, and then you're going to go in with your healing brushes and you're going to retouch the image. So the main thing is quickly go through and take care of any areas that you feel need attention. I'm using my spot brush, but you can do it using whatever method you prefer. At the very end, I am going to apply a softened skin effect using the selective blur we just learned. Now I'm going to switch to my clone stamp tool, soften this under eye bag right here. And I'm only at 16%, so you can see that it's taken me several passes to get the effect that I want. I'm going to also adjust this inner eye area here. I'm going to go in nice and small and take care of these little wrinkles right here. She doesn't have very many, and I'm just softening them. And they'll be softened further when we do our skin effect in a little while. Alright, so there's my before and there's my after. Not a whole lot. Again, you can go in and you can select whatever form you feel is the best way of getting you the effect you want. Alright, now I'm ready to begin working on her eye. Clean up her eyebrows just a little bit here. When you look at an eye this close, you definitely begin to see a lot of the different details. I'm going to duplicate this layer. And now we're going to begin working on the pupil and the iris. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my dodge tool. And the dodge tool lightens and whitens things, so I'm going to give my catch light a pass over. I'm going to go slightly over the whites of the eye, and I'm going to go just once or twice around the iris. Now I'm only at 10%. If I was at 100% set for midtones, we would see a lot more drastic results. However, I'm going to back out of all of my dodging, go up, adjust my exposure down to about, we'll say 20%. It's set for midtones. And I'm just going to give it, like I said before, a slight pass over. If I want a stronger effect, all I have to do is go over it again. Don't worry about removing the veins in the eyes just yet. Now when I'm through with my dodge tool, I'm going to switch to my burn tool, and that darkens things. So I'm going to go over my pupil, and then I'm going to reduce my size, and I'm going to go around the rim here on this black, and I am going to make sure that's nice and dark and uniform all the way around. The next thing I'm going to do is select my sponge tool. I'm going to set it to saturate, and I'm just going to give my iris a pass over. And now let's look at what we've done so far. There's the before, and here's the after. And we're not through yet, but we're getting there. Alright, so now we're ready to work on the whites of the eyes a little bit more. So go ahead and select your quick selection tool and select just the inner part of the eye here. If you get outside a little bit, that's okay, because we're going to be doing some masking. But for the most part, you want to try to contain your selection to the inner part of the eye. And most importantly, the white. So you can deselect the pupil and the iris. Go ahead and do that now. Make sure you have a nice clean selection. We'll go nice and small and get right up against the iris here. So when you have a nice selection, next you're going to go in and you're going to create a fill layer. So make sure that white is in your foreground color. Go down and select solid color, your layers panel. Go ahead and make sure white is selected for this and click OK. And what you should see is white fills in where you had selected, because it creates a layer mask for you. Now what you're going to do next is you're going to turn down the opacity of that layer to about 20%. And you can see where it's over part of her eyelashes here. So I'm going to go into my layers mask and I'm going to paint black to remove this part that I don't want showing up from that layer. So any area you don't want, all you have to do is go in and paint out using your mask. So let me switch to black. So let me turn this opacity up on this layer. Make sure I have my layer mask selected. Select my brush tool. Make sure it's set to black. And then I can go in and I can clean up the areas that I feel perhaps went past the boundaries. Because we're just wanting to whiten the whites here. We don't want to make the white go over any other part, or it's going to make our image look fuzzy in those areas. Alright, let me reduce the opacity again. If I turn that off and on, then we can see that we've taken care of a lot of those red areas. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go back to my eye. I'm going to select my sponge tool again, but up here where it says saturate, I'm going to select desaturate. And I'm going to go over the red areas of the veins on these eyes and remove the redness there. Additionally, what I'm going to do next is on those areas that are still showing that I don't want to show, I'm going to select one of my healing tools, so my spot healing brush, and I'm just going to select some of the more noticeable veins and remove those. Alright, now what you need to do is combine layer 1 copy, the eyes layer, and the color fill layer that you created into a group, and you're going to name that group eyes, so we can see the before and after. Alright, so now within the eyes group, you're going to select the eyes layer and duplicate that, so Command or Control J. So next we're going to go in and work on her eyelashes. I'm going to select my burn tool. I need to make sure my range is set to midtones, exposure is at 100%, and protect tones is turned off. And I've got a brush size of about 2 pixels. And I'm going to go in and you're going to see where it takes me going repeatedly over the same exact spot multiple times to get an eyelash drawn in. Now you would think you could go in with a regular brush and do this, but it is very difficult to do it and make it look natural. Whereas with the burn tool, when I go in, yes, I do have to do repeated strokes, but I'm able to, by layering the strokes on top of each other, go in and add, and I'm curling my strokes as I go down to match the other eyelashes. I'm going to come up here at the top, add a couple right here. And I can go over here and switch to shadows. That gives me a little bit darker effect. And again, I'm just going over her existing eyelashes and then in between them as well. To make them look fuller. And so if I turn her eye layer on and off, you can see where the eyelashes that have been added in. And let's say I didn't like where some of them are because it doesn't look natural. No problem. All I have to do is create a layer mask. And then I can paint in with black. I want a larger brush, obviously. A nice soft edge brush. But I can go in on the areas that I feel maybe got a little heavy-handed. And I can edit that. And you'll need to paint in a few eyelashes and darken the existing eyelashes as well. Now, in addition to adding in eyelashes, you'll use your burn tool. Let me switch from the mask over to the regular layer. Go back to the burn tool. I've got a soft edge brush now, not a pointy edge brush. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to switch it to mid-tones, turn my exposure down to about 23%, and I'm just going to give her some natural eyeliner look. So I'm just going over the rim of the eye here around the perimeter. So the next thing I'm going to actually do is add a little bit of eyeshadow. I'm just adding a touch of color to her eyelids. And so again, we're going to do that using a fill layer. And actually we're going to do this by adding a new layer. So Command Shift N. And then you're going to select the color that you would like. I am going to go for a brown. And I'm going to paint at 100%. I know this is not what I want to leave it at. So I'm going to make sure I have a regular paintbrush selected. I'm at 100%. I have my brown color that I want. And I am just painting in the area where I want to see the eyeshadow added. And that is at 100%. Now let's look at what happens when we change some of our blend modes. If I switch that to an overlay blend mode or a soft light blend mode, look what happens. It naturally begins to interact with her eyelashes and her skin, making it look more natural. So you need to change your blend mode to soft light, add a layer mask, go in and clean up your painting to make it look more natural. Again, I'm doing this on my layer mask. And now the eyeshadow looks naturally applied and not digitally applied. Alright, I'm going to zoom out. And the last thing that we are going to do is a minor bit of retouching. What we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the eyes group. So I'm going to go to the menu and I am going to select duplicate group, and that's going to be eyes copy. And then with eyes copy selected, I am going to go down and I am going to select merge group. And now I can turn off my eyes, my original eyes group, but you need to be sure that's there for grading purposes. Okay? Now working off of the eyes copy, I'm going to do minor retouching and my skin blur. So one of the areas that I want to retouch is right here in her eye where we've got these bright white spots. I want to tone those down. So I'm going to select my healing brush and go in and remove that so it's not quite so distracting. And then right here as well. Alright, I'm going to zoom out. So before and after. Okay? Next we're going to do our skin softening. So we're going to duplicate this group. So Command J or Control J to duplicate the eyes copy layer. Now we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Select our radius. Let's maybe even put this one a little bit softer. Put it at about a radius of 6. Click OK. Go ahead and add our layer mask. Fill it with black. And now we're going to use our brush, a nice large soft brush, at a reduced opacity of about 40%, and we're painting in white because we're painting in the areas where we want the skin softening to show. And so now you just go in and you're going to paint over the skin where you want it to be softened. You're going to spend a little extra time on the areas that need a little more help. And again, you can see over in your layer mask exactly where you've painted and where you haven't, making it easier for you to know where you still need to go. Now over here by her eyebrows and her hairline, again, I go through the eyebrows because of the skin showing, but I'll be coming back along her face here by her hair and along her eyebrows and her eyes. I'll be coming back in with a black brush on my mask to sharpen things back up. Because what I'm doing right now is softening it. Go back up here, take care of the forehead, still a little sharp. We're just trying to get rid of those pores and blemishes. Alright, I'm going to switch to my black brush by hitting X on the keyboard. I'm going to reduce the opacity of my black brush and just go lightly over her hair, along her face, her nostril here. Reduce my brush size a little bit. Go along the edge of her eye here, sharpen that up, especially her eyelashes. Should be in focus. And I can reduce the opacity of the overall layer as well, which will lessen the blur effect. And so now the next thing I'm going to do is create my Enhancements group. So I'm going to select each of these layers and groups, all except for the background layer, and go into my Layers menu, select New Group from Layers. This is going to be named Enhancements. Click OK. And there's my before and my after. Before and my after. When you're through, what you're going to do is go in and Command or Control Shift S, and you're going to save this as 10H, your last name, _ I.psd. Make sure it's in your Chapter 10 folder. Click Save. And that's all there is to retouching the eyes.